Okay, perfect. All right. Um, so last week, we modeled or we unwrapped this table, right? Um, what we're gonna do is we're gonna texture it today, and so I made a high poly model right here.
You
Let me
finished the
show you.
high roll?
Yeah, this is like a very generic high poly. If some of you guys have taken Johannes's class in ZBrush,
Ooh,
um, you would take this high poly into ZBrush and you would sculpt in like your wood. You would sculpt in some metal parts right here, like some dents and stuff to get a better looking model. But I just kind of smoothed all of my edges out to get that. And so I use that to get my ambient occlusion map, which is this right here. So this is my
Interesting.
ambient occlusion map. We're going to use this as the basis of how we're going to texture our model. Okay. Um, we're using Photoshop for this, and that's how I'm going to show you guys how to texture this in Photoshop. Um, if highly requested, if you guys want to learn how to do it in Substance, I can show you that too. But today we're going to do Photoshop. So I like to use the ambient occlusion map as a base to start my texture, right? And so this looks like a lot of crap, which it is. I'm not gonna lie to you. Um, but what can make this a bit easier is we can make a mask. And sorry guys. Um,
mask.
and
Silly.
so we can make a mask. And what we need to do is we need to render a mask out, which I didn't do ahead of time. Let me make one real quick. So this is how you would make a mask for Substance Painter. I think you can use this also for. Um,
Photoshop?
yeah, I think you can. You have to render it out in here, but I'm gonna render out in Substance. Um, so there's something called vertex colors. So if you go to your modify list and you type vertex paint, right now all of my vertexes are white, but I can assign colors to my vertex or to my model. Um,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's how I'm gonna mask out things in Photoshop.
Mm.
So it's really beneficial. I got to look up how to do it in Max, but just kind of follow me right now. So all of my metal parts, I want them to be,
Red.
um, let's do red, right? So all of those are red. And I'm gonna say these guys down here are metal as
Red.
well, so they're gonna be red. Okay. All my wood is gonna be what color? Blue.
I
Is that fair?
guess. Blue.
All right. So all these pieces right here are gonna be blue. These can be blue too. That's fine. These guys are gonna be blue.
Are they pieces of wood?
Yeah, they're little wood chips.
Interesting.
Um, Gotta put vertex colors on these guys too.
Since they're metal, you
Yeah.
have them like a blush red.
Why does it look like that? So I'm gonna do vertex colors on these guys too. Um,
Like a blush red or something. So
so
it'll
I'm
be
gonna
all.
select these right here. All gonna be metal,
Mm.
right? Okay. So I'm gonna export this out. I'm gonna export it out as Buzzsaw. I'm gonna hit yes. Okay. So if I open up my substance, and remember when I stacked my UVs on top of each other last week? So this guy
Yeah.
right here got this black shadow right here because all of these on the inside right here have that black shadow. So since they baked on top of each other, it gave me this black artifact, which I mean I can paint out in Photoshop. That's not a problem, but that's
Mm.
kind of like the deep like the problem with stacking your UVs, but you can paint that out. That's not hard. Um,
It's not that bad.
so I'm gonna when I bake, I'm gonna go to well, first before I gotta re-upload this model. Open. Okay. All right. So this time I'm gonna bake my ID map. I'm gonna do vertex colors. I'm gonna bake it. Did you not give me any vertex colors? Oh, you know why? I gotta do this. That's why.
What is beeping?
That is my baby monitor.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna export this out. I'm gonna. That's fine. I'm gonna say ID map.
ID. Wow.
Okay. Whatever.
It's asking you what folder to put it in.
Yeah, I just selected the folder. All right. I'm gonna open this. We're gonna find that ID map. This name. Color map. That's what it's called. Okay. So we're gonna bring in our color map right here.
Wow.
Bring this in here. All right. So now I have a way to mask this guy out. So anything in the red,
It's metal.
yeah, is metal.
Anything in blue is wood.
Yep,
Which is weird because there's
it is.
red in the blue and then there's red.
Yep, it's a little weird, but that's our ID map, and so we're going to use that to get our texture. So how we're going to start, we can take just a basic color, right? Wood is what, like typically a brown, right? And so we can get a brown color. Oh, you know what? Filter, image, adjustments. No, you're fine. You should be fine.
Oh, black.
Okay, yeah. All right. I thought it was in the wrong mode. Okay, so we're gonna pick like a brown. And what I like to really do when I start texturing is in Photoshop, I just like to get my base colors in there first, right?
Yeah, that's easier, they say.
Yeah, it is. That really helps. That really helps get like what I want textured the right color. I just know that okay, everything's brown is what's going to be my wood, and so on and so forth. So
how did you magic one select the shape that's so accurate?
okay, so since I have this ID map,
Yeah,
I just went to my layer right here,
yeah,
and I just hit this magic wand tool right here.
yeah. But I mean, it's like really accurate. Like usually when I use magic one, I just select everywhere blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's because since the colors are just so different, it just it's just easier to pick up.
Ah, all right.
And so if you want to refine it a little bit, you can just hold down shift and you see that plus.
Oh yeah, yeah, I see.
That'll add to your mask a bit.
Ah, all right.
So it kind of refines it a little bit.
Because of the colors.
Yeah.
And
So that's why the ID map is so useful, is because it's looking for that blue when I'm selecting it.
okay.
All right, got it.
Adonis just joined.
Perfect. Donis, how you doing? I hope good. Okay. So I'm just gonna select all this blue here, and if you notice, I'm on my mask layer here, and this if I do it in any other layer, it's not gonna work. So I'm doing it on my mask layer. but I'm not going to texture on my mask layer. I'm just using this layer as a basis on selecting all of my wood parts.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
How it's looking at so easily.
yeah. And so in Substance, what it does is it just selects. You don't have to. It didn't really work. Um, you don't have to do this. It just there's an algorithm that does it for you, so it makes it easier. Okay,
Mm.
so I have all of the parts that are going to be wood in here,
So
right?
like
So I click
this
on my layer right here, um,
and
and I have my color selected and I have my paint bucket selected, and my paint bucket is just going to fill things in for me. So I'm just going to select this, and all of that I have selected is brown now.
yeah.
Um,
Some are very difficult to do. Like yeah.
yeah.
But they are selected, it's like it's very easy.
Okay. Also, what's helpful too, um, I didn't show you this part, but I can. I like to have my UVs imported in here too, just so that I know how everything looks. So to your question, Solo,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Do you just paint over it? If you were gonna do it the other way, do you just paint over your UVs?
that's correct.
Okay.
That is correct. We're gonna do tools, render, 2048, 2048. Why aren't you rendering?
Oh no. It's interesting. But sometimes it may not do it. I have that problem as well as the don't know when.
Maybe he doesn't have a render output. We're gonna do a JPEG image. Okay. All right, there it is.
It did it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
my UVs are right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't take that long, like
So I'm gonna open up my UVs.
and
They're
then
right
drag it.
here. I could just drag them in. I don't know why I do that,
I don't
but
know.
yeah, that's fine. So here are my
Yeah.
UVs. So what sucks is like when I have it in this view, I can't really see anything else. I mean, I could
Oh,
turn my opacity down. Um, you could do. Do I just usually turn my opacity down?
you can do more. Oh,
Multiply. Yeah, I think you just turn your opacity down.
but I
So
did the last
you
time. I
can just
just
turn it
like
down to like 50 to kind of see where your UVs are. And you can just kind of toggle this on whenever you're looking for um, where your UVs are. So if you're trying to find out where's my Buzzsaw, then you can look over here. That's where it is, right?
yeah.
Um, okay, so we kind of have all of our wood parts selected. There are a few bits that we miss, but it's just because the selection's so small. And the rest of it should be metal. So, for example, this buzzsaw right here, I can go into my mask. So let me turn my mask back on. And if I select this, it's going to give me all this red, which is not, well, I guess that's
Pretty.
fine.
Well, okay.
Because I have this stuff over here. Um, if you don't like using this method, one thing that you can do also is with this is my fill layer right here. You could go into another selection mode. Um, where is it? Yeah. Okay. So you have the lasso tool right here. Um, I like to use polygonal lasso tool, and then you can just draw out your selection shape like this. Have any of you used this before? George.
That's a
Oh
tool.
yeah, yeah, but it's really painful to use, so I try to block the memory when I use it.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of annoying.
Yeah, I rather use the other one. Oh wait, yeah, the other one is hard to use in here. But
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think since the rest of them are metal, you can just paint the whole background to metal, right?
Yeah, you can. But I mean, we could do that. We could just do like a generic base, like all of it would be like a gray.
Yeah,
Um, and so I just wanted to show you this in case you wanted to get very precise. And we'll probably be going to this method a little later.
yeah, but this method is so painful.
It is. It's
I
very
don't want.
painful.
Yeah, see, now in this part, you try to move it, and then
Yeah.
in my part, I just undo everything. I just start crying.
Yeah. Um,
I
yeah.
have a
I know. I
question.
agree.
Vincent asked me, can he be my peer editing? But also, Roberto already is doing mine. Uh, he wants to do it because no one asked him to peer edit his.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do, solo. I forgot to mention that too. Sorry. Thanks for reminding me. Is from now on, there's two options on how you can do this. Um,
Okay.
and so to get the peer review credit, you can be in class. Um, what I mean by being in class is you can be in the Discord chat,
Okay.
and whenever we go over the projects on Monday, we're gonna all take turns viewing each one of your projects, and we're going all to critique on that person, and then we're gonna move on to the next person and do that. If you do that, then you get credit for that part. So you don't have to start. You don't have to look and search for somebody. You can just review it in class with everybody else that's presenting their work. So if there's only
Okay.
5 people in class, then we go through all 5 people, and everybody pitches in some critiques, and then you get credit for it. If you if you're not in class for that, or if you're not in the Discord chat, then you have to do the method that we're doing right now, which you have to go find somebody and do it. If you can't find somebody, you email me, and then I'll pair you with somebody. Um,
Okay.
and um, if you just don't find anybody or you don't do it, then you don't get credit. Does that make sense?
Okay. So how does this acquire does it work for this week? Cause
So this week, don't worry about it because it seemed like everybody was having a difficult time. So I wouldn't worry about it.
okay, so next week goes like that.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
we're gonna paint all these, paint the things that we need to paint gray.
Gray.
Yeah, because that's our metal.
Okay.
So I'm just using the
So
lasso tool for this one.
this I don't like the lasso tool. It's painful.
It can be.
Mm. That's the first tool I ever learned how to use in Photoshop.
Really?
Was because I took Photoshop in high school also, so it's very painful. I also took Illustrator too, so it's like great. Pen tool and the lasso tool is just painful tools. Very painful.
Yeah, they can be. Okay. So I'm gonna paint in the rest of my brown. Let me.
You're brown.
Yeah, because there's still some brown right here,
Oh, okay.
or maybe not. I
So,
don't know if there is, but
um,
I'm just going to.
so I think it's supposed to be brown right there, and then brown on the other side.
So we'll see. Um, let's see.
I think it's supposed to be brown right there, right?
And this
Where
right
your
here,
is?
that needs to be gray.
Gray.
Yeah, because
That's
you see,
not wood, is it?
yeah, you see right here, it's red. So red means metal,
Oh yeah, metal.
right? All right.
Hmm.
So let's see if we got this right. I'm gonna turn this off, and let's see how it looks on our model. So I like when I like to do is when I'm texturing, I like to go back and forth to my texturing program and my modeling program just to see what my model looks like with the textures that I got. I don't want to get too far in my texturing process and um, it be wrong. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Um, so I like to double check and make sure that my texture is correct.
So what you do to test it out? What do
Okay,
you do? Save it and then you
so
put.
let's. I'm gonna hide. Actually, I'm gonna put this over, and I'm gonna multiply this like that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and I'm gonna export this out. I'm gonna file, export. Well, I can. Yeah, I'm gonna export as a PNG, and I'm just gonna name it Buzzsaw table.
Texture?
Um, if it was going in a game engine, it'd probably be called like Buzzsaw table underscore albedo would be the correct.
Albedo?
Yeah. Um,
Why Albedo?
because in your shader in Unity or Unreal,
Mm-hmm.
for those of you that have used Unreal or
Mm-hmm.
Unity, whenever you create a shader, there's different um, like slots to put different texture maps in. And since this
Oh,
is a color map, it's called an albedo map in Unity or Unreal. And so that's what we're creating is an albedo. Another slot would be an ambient occlusion, which is what this is. But
mm.
what we're going to do is we're going to combine the two together to get that shadow detail.
Oh, okay.
Make sense? Okay. So I exported this out. And now I'm going to go to my modeling software right here. I'm going to hit M for material.
Okay.
And so I was going to pull up my material editor here. Where it says diffuse, this little box right here, I'm going to click on that button. And I'm going to click bitmap. And I'm going to hit OK. Now I'm going to look for my texture, which we named it Buzzsaw Albedo, right?
I don't.
And I have it right here. Now I'm going to click and drag this on there. And I'm going to assign to selection. So you still don't see it because I need to click this button, Show Shaded Material and Viewport.
Oh.
So there you go.
Ooh.
So that's what it looks like so far. So
Wow.
everything that we have,
Look like it's in a
we,
game engine.
we got it right in some places. We got it wrong in some places. This is gray, which is supposed to be brown.
Supposed to
This is
be.
brown. So that's correct. That's correct. So,
Some of it's gray and some of it's brown. Like
yeah.
there's a few.
Yeah. So like right here,
It's gray and brown.
yeah, that's just some of the shadow though. That didn't really cast
Didn't
a good
help.
shadow on it. So let's look at our UVs and see where this guy is.
Hmm. It's weird. Where is it?
Oh, look at that. I guess I didn't finish UVing this. Remember?
Oh.
That's why that happened. So last week I didn't
Oh.
finish. I left these two guys out.
Oh.
Um,
Okay.
easy problem to fix though.
Which is not that bad. So all you have to do is put the UVs where they're
No,
supposed to be.
nope. All you do is you delete them,
Oh,
and you just copy them over.
oh, okay. Well, it's not that
Problems
bad.
problem solved.
Problem solved. Mm.
There you go. Problem solved. Done.
Okay. Done
Okay.
deal. Okay.
All right. So these are right. These are correct. Um, remember I said this guy is should not be black. He should be white. So let's find out where he is. Right here. And when I change this UV, it's going to change all of these guys in here. So all of these aren't going to be black anymore. They're going to be the correct. They're going to be like a lighter color
Oh, so they be.
because they're all stacked on top of each other.
Oh, so once you move that one, it shouldn't be that bad.
Yeah. So it's this one right here. And
Mm.
so if I go into Photoshop, it's this guy that's causing the problem
Mm.
right here.
Yeah.
So I fix that by, I go in here, I'm going to color pick my white, and then I'm just going to paint over it right here.
White. We're gonna make it white.
Yep. And I'm just going to paint this white.
Does it update it while it's doing it?
Negative. So
Hmm.
whenever you save out your texture again,
Yeah.
it'll update.
Oh, okay. That's interesting because I was just trying to figure that out. Because sometimes when you save stuff, sometimes it's automatically updated, and sometimes
Yeah. So this isn't doing it real time. I have to export out my texture again for it to update.
too
Does that make
bad.
sense?
Too bad they don't do it real time.
And you know what? Maybe there is one that's real time, but I don't think that there is. I think that it's all done like this. So like if I go back in here and I export it out again, and we're gonna look for Buzzsaw table albedo. I'm gonna save it.
Replace.
And so in here, it should update. There you go. Bam. Fixed.
That is real time.
I mean, real time would be I paint it and it happens real time. I have to save it for it to update. So
Oh,
that's the difference between Substance and Photoshop. So okay. So we got our base colors in, right?
yeah.
So
Look great.
if it doesn't look too bad, right?
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
s- so I mean, these are just base colors, like nothing fancy, nothing smancy. It just has the base color on there with our or our ambient occlusion map, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, and so if we want to get like some metal, some like cool metal texture in here, um, there's
Display.
some different things that I do that I like to do. Uh, so I'm gonna grab all of my gray, right? And I'm going to do filter, and I'm gonna do noise, and I'm gonna add some noise. I'm not gonna add a lot. I don't want it to be mega grainy, but this kind of gives it a little bit of detail, like minor detail, to work with.
Oh, how did you call noise again?
Okay, so for me to do that, I just selected all of my gray, right?
All
Which is
right.
all this stuff. So I did magic wand, I selected it, and that's why I have my marching ants. You guys heard of that
Yeah.
term before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have my marching ants, and I go to filter, and I'm gonna go to noise,
And
and
add
I'm gonna
noise.
go to add noise.
Ah. All right. Got it.
And so
So.
you can kind of see right here, it's giving me some noise,
Yeah. I see.
right? I can turn this down to 2.
If
I
you
can
want
turn
it.
this like to 0. Does it update?
It's not really.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's updating now. So 2, I'm gonna toggle my preview. Let's use 2.
Oh yeah, you don't have the automatic thing where it
So
says
you can kind of see like right here, I got some like noise, right? Some pixel
yeah.
noise. Um, all right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to filter, and I'm going to,
Sharpen.
no, not sharpen. It won't let me go to filter gallery.
Oh, you're trying to go to filter gallery. Isn't it? It's under filter, and then it should be the first. But
No, it's not allowing
oh,
me to
I
go to
know.
filter gallery.
Oh no. Okay, your layers are not locked. Okay, so I don't know what's
No.
going. Oh, I know what it is. You might have to do it as a what is it? Sorry. A smart object, and then put it into filter gallery.
Not typically,
Smart
but
filter.
that's not a problem.
Yeah.
What we can do is we can go into here. We can type in metal seamless texture, and
There's some
like I said, this is just a real quick way
to do it.
to get textures in here. You can hand paint stuff in there. I'm not going to show you how to do that. That
Please.
just that's
No.
just a painting class, really. Um, I'm just showing you how to get textures on your model. That's a whole nother thing on its own, is hand
I
painted
know.
textures.
Mm.
So,
I,
um,
I didn't even do that when I took Photoshop. I went and got textures because that's crazy.
yeah. I
Picking.
mean, for some people that love to paint, you can definitely get in there and um, just start painting.
Your textures.
Yeah, some detail in here. Um, but like for me, I mean, I'm not. That's not my thing.
No.
Um, so I'm not gonna. I don't want to waste your time and sit there and show you how to do it. If you're really really interested, I can. I know there's some things that I know that I can show you, but for today, since this is an intro class, I just want to show you some pretty basic stuff.
What stuff do you know? You want to?
Um, a lot of more of my art style is more realism than it is like hand painted cartoony textures.
Yeah.
And so, for example, like this is probably the most. This is something I'm working on right now. The most
Detail.
no, like I guess stylized that I've done.
Mm. Oh, okay.
Um,
That's
and so
realism right there.
yeah, I
That
mean,
actually looks like a room. Mm.
and so like these are kind of like these barrels are kind of cartoony, um, a little
That's
bit.
not really cartoony. That's an actual barrel. I wouldn't say that's cartoony. I can
Compare
tell you have
comparable
art
to
style.
like how some other barrels look. This is a more stylized barrel. Um, but anyway, this is about
That's
as
realism right there.
yeah. So this is about as this is kind of my style. Um,
Yours is realism. Mine's is cartoony.
but if you wanted to get into some hand painted um, tutorials, I posted one in the chat.
Okay.
It was like a speed paint that this chick did, but it's right here.
Oh, okay.
So she just does like a really quick time lapse of her painting, and so that's if that's your thing, I would check that out. But like I
Mm.
said, this is an intro class, so I'm just gonna show you some entry level stuff. Um, so this is you want to find a texture that is seamless and that is the same width as it is the same height. Um,
Yeah.
and you can kind of see that here. This is 1600 by 1600.
And
Um,
that's what you want, right?
yeah, I like things that are more like 1024 by 1024, 2048 by 2048. I don't really like the 16 like crazy numbers because I want that to come into my Photoshop document. Um,
And you don't like to look weird.
yeah, I don't want to have to crop it and stuff. But I think this is okay. So I'm just gonna save this image onto my desktop. I'm just gonna steal that. Um,
Hey, we all do it. It's okay.
yeah.
You just have to admit your faults.
Um, and I mean, like really, like you can get started doing this, and I did for a while.
Yeah.
And it's okay to find some seamless textures and until like you really get comfortable making things from scratch.
Yeah.
Um, because it really kind of gets a little difficult.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Hold on. Mm,
You can
Let's.
do scratching. Oh yeah. You-
Okay. So
Oh.
before I do that, I'm going to show you something kind of cool. All right, I know why it wasn't working. So I'm going to do render. Let me go back to my quick select again. I'm going to go to filter, render, clouds.
Oh, it wasn't working because it
Oh
didn't have
shit.
a good filter
Okay,
on.
I'm going to make a new layer because I don't want to put clouds on this layer. So I'm going to put like another type of gray color in here. And I'm just going to put that on top like that.
Yeah.
So if I select all of that, I'm going to do filter, render, clouds. And so it's going to give me these clouds.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can go to filter. Let me close that. I'm gonna overlay this soft light, and then I'm just gonna drag my opacity down a little bit. That's gonna help out. Um, and I kind of like messing with a lot of these different filters that kind of get you some pretty decent stuff starting out. Um, okay, so I added these clouds in here. That's going to give me a little bit of variation in my metal. Um, Now if I take that image that I stole online, let's find it
It's on your desktop.
right here. I'm just going to drag him in. Let me bring him back over here. So I'm just going to drag him in. And I'm going to place him. And I'm just going to hold Alt, and I'm just going to drag him over to make a copy. And then I'm going to select both of these layers. I'm going to hold Alt and drag him down to make a copy like that. And then I'm going to click on this top one. I'm going to hold Shift, click on this bottom one, and I'm going to do Control E. And that just collapses all of them together like that.
Well, you didn't merge down, did you?
Yeah, I merged down on those.
Oh,
That's what I wanted. Um, so I can click on multiply, or I can do overlay. You really just keep messing with it
until you figure out which
until,
one.
yeah, until you find what you like. Um,
Great.
overlay's probably okay, or soft light's probably better. And I can drag this down just a little bit. I'm going to control click on my clouds. Remember these guys?
Mm.
I just wanted to control click on those clouds so that I can get all of the gray that I need. Um, but I don't want that metal texture to be on my wood, right? We don't want that.
Mm.
Um,
No.
so what I'm going to do is go to select inverse. And so now I have my wood selected, my wood part selected, and I'm just going to delete that right there. So I have all of the things that are metal, have this metal texture on it. Okay. So if I go to filter, or if I go to file, let's see what it looks like. Export. Let me turn this back on. File, export PNG. We're gonna export this one back out right here. Yes, and let's see what it looks like.
And it should. Yeah.
Okay,
Wow. Wow.
Yo,
What dusty wood.
cool, right?
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
yeah.
Um, and so let's paint a little bit, because I think it wouldn't be fair if I didn't show you how to paint a little bit. Okay, so let's say we wanted to paint like some rust or something, right? Like on the edges or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, let's look at this in our UV space, because I don't know where those are.
Mm. Could be anywhere. I think.
Okay, so it's down here. This piece right here is both of these pieces.
Or down there.
Yeah, so they're down here at the bottom. So that means they're right here,
Yeah.
right? Just double check. Yeah. Why does it have brown on around that edge then?
Oh, the inside.
Probably, but I don't think we need that to be brown.
It may be like that line on the inside of it might be brown. Might be the wood that's next to it.
Probably. Okay. Um, okay. So we want to paint maybe some discoloration right here on the edges.
Mhm.
So let's get like,
Like a
what do you
red.
think? Like a red, like a red rust color.
Yeah.
And we
Okay.
want to paint this on top of this layer. So let's make another layer right here. And we have our UVs on so we can see where we're painting. But I don't want a hard brush. Let's get a softer brush. Um, Let me see if I turn those on. Okay, yeah, I can see my edges. Okay. All right. So I can paint, and I'm doing this with a mouse. If you guys have a tablet, it probably like 100 times better, which is another reason why I'm not doing a lot of hand painted stuff because it's hard to do it with a mouse.
Exactly, and
Um,
that's why it's so hard
so
for
if you
us.
guys if you guys have a Wacom tablet, I would advise you use that.
Yeah.
You won't look like a bum like me and paint textures with a mouse because that's difficult. Or
Well,
in Roberto's case, a trackpad. Um,
I'm just gonna be a bum because that's what I usually.
yeah.
I've
So
been a bum since I took Photoshop, so.
yeah.
So
So
yeah.
you probably wanna. These actually need to be gray as well. I thought they were important, but they weren't. So if you want to do hand painted stuff, you need to get a mouse or not a mouse. You need to get a Wacom tablet. Um,
Yeah.
that'll help get your stuff at the level that you want. If you don't have that, it's going to be kind of difficult to do that.
Or just be a bum.
Yeah. Um, okay. So we got that color that we wanted. We're gonna do like a kind of like a rusty color like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Um, okay, and we made this layer right here. Don't be like me and not name your layers. So let's name this rust. Let's name this one base color. This one right here, we can call it clouds. And this one right here, we can just call like metal scratch. So you want to make sure this one's ambient occlusion. You want to make sure that you name your layers because if you don't, you're gonna have a huge list of. Come on,
Things that you can't remember.
there we go. Exactly. We're gonna name that AO, and this one's gonna be called UVs. Yeah, you're gonna have a huge list of textures or layers, and you're gonna be like, "What's this?" And you're gonna be like toggling them on and off to figure out what it was. You don't
And
want to do that.
then you
So
won't be able to remember it at all.
yeah, and side note, you want to make sure that you name things so that you remember them. But if you're working at a company, and let's say you're working on this buzzsaw table, and then you got sick, and somebody else needed to pick it up, you don't want them, surfing through 900 layers of unnamed layers, right? You want to make sure that you have it organized so that they can know, okay, this is where Solo left off. I can
Yeah.
find all of my layers because they're all named, right? So
Yeah.
be cautious about making a whole bunch of layers and not naming them. So don't be like me and just make layers and don't name them. Name your layers and make sure that you have those organized because that'll help out in the future. Okay.
And you can either name them something that is so simple so everyone around you can actually know what they are.
Yeah. Make sure that you name them something that makes sense, right? Don't name them like G or F or,
Yeah.
fart. Make sure that you name them something that you
It's
that that makes sense to that layer. Okay.
yeah.
All right. So we have this color, this rust color. We're gonna paint some rough, some really rough rust edges here. So I want to change my opacity. Instead of 100, I want to change it to 50% and my flow to 50%.
Did it? Oh yeah. At
So I'm
first.
gonna what's
Mm,
kind of cool if I want to paint instead of like sitting here painting like this. Um, if I want to paint a straight line, you can
yeah.
click right here, hold shift, and then click. and that'll paint a straight line for you.
Wow.
You can click right here, hold shift, hit click, that paints a straight line for you. So now you have a straight line.
Thank you for the trick.
Um, so I can multiply this, and if I want, I can probably turn down the opacity a little bit more. And so this should give us some rough detail. Um, rust doesn't really stay in one spot, so I mean you can kind of paint out a little bit if you want in just some areas. Um, just to give it some variation. But I don't really like that. I don't want to do that. I just want to keep it straight. Um, okay. So you have a little bit of that in there. If you want to paint your buzzsaw, you want to
And
give
get
that
some
some.
rest on it.
Yeah, we can do that too. Um, on my rust layer. So I'm just going to paint on the edge right here.
Don't get cut by that blade. It's gonna be dangerous.
Yeah, you're going to get gangrene.
Yeah. Bad. My even loose fingers.
I'm going to make it big like this, and I'm just going to paint like one kind of in the center. Let me turn my opacity and flow down. Maybe I'm going to do half of the 50, so I'm going to do 25. I don't want to do too much. I just want to kind of give it
Like a dark.
yeah. And when I paint over 25% twice, it's going to give me 50, right? So maybe that was too much rust on the edges. Let me turn this down. 25. So I'm in my eraser and I'm just erasing some of this that I thought I went a little overboard with this.
So it don't be overlooked.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of going back and forth using my paintbrush. I'm just kind of painting some of this stuff in.
It looks like it's gone, but it doesn't.
Let's look at some more stuff online. Let's see.
For some rest?
Maybe let's look at Buzzsaw. Blade. Computer's being super slow right now. Probably got to close this.
Clothes.
Hold
A
on.
whole bunch of stuff? Oh, you have a lot of stuff open.
I do. 1 second.
You're frozen.
Can you guys still see my screen?
Oh, it went out a little bit.
You can see it now?
Yeah, I still see it.
Okay.
It's,
I gotta
it's
close
in
some.
big brush.
I gotta close some stuff real quick.
Alright, Ricky, I'm gonna go take a shit. Come back in 10 minutes.
All right, George.
Yeah, it's torn my anus right now. Oh shit.
All right, man. Thanks for letting me know. Thanks, George. Anybody else need to use the facilities? Okay. Feel free to just excuse yourself. You don't have to make an announcement.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna steal some more stuff. I like this right here. This circular, kind of like graininess right here on this image. I'm gonna steal this.
Mm.
I'm gonna look for it here. Oh, you know what? That's why it wasn't rendering. Ah, that makes sense. It was
Why?
rendering. It's because I had a friend of mine is letting me borrow his drawing tablet, and I
Yeah.
had it hooked up to my computer, but I couldn't see because I had it turned off, but it was still hooked up as a third monitor, and so it was rendering everything on my third monitor. That's why I couldn't see it because I had the third monitor turned off.
Turned off.
Yeah.
Great. Mm.
Okay.
It was rendering, but it's being difficult.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm bringing this guy in. All I want from this texture is this right here. So
Hmm.
I'm just gonna erase everything. So right now I need to rasterize this image. So
Yeah,
you can
that's
see
gonna
it
be
right
fun.
here that it's a smart object. So I'm just gonna
Yeah.
right click and raster layer, and now I can erase it and stuff. I'm gonna turn my
It's gonna.
eraser back to 100, and I'm gonna erase what I don't need. So I don't need any of this.
Usually, when I do that, I always somehow do something really messed up.
Any of you
You
guys have
must
any?
have a good mouse.
I do have an MX Master. Um, any of you guys have any questions so far? Vincent, Roberto?
Yeah. Anyone other than me? Okay. Uh, he said he's good.
He's good? Okay.
Yeah, I'm good also.
Okay. Perfect. Solo, did you have something you want to say?
Yeah, I wanted to say, okay, so when you when you did your UVs and into photo put them in Photoshop, you can just paint over them
Yeah.
like that. You
Yeah.
don't have
So,
to crop them. You don't have to do anything to them.
no, because what's going to happen since I saved out my UVs, right?
Yeah.
This Photoshop document is 2048 by 2048, right?
Yeah.
When I save out my UVs, I have the option to save them out at whatever resolution I want them to save out. So
Okay.
if I wanted a model to have a texture size of 1024 by 1024, whenever I export out my UVs, I can export them out as 1024 by 1024. So
Mm.
whenever I open up my Photoshop document, I can open up my UVs. It's going to come in like this, and then you can just start painting on top of this.
Oh, okay.
Um, I like to start with an ambient occlusion map because it helps when I'm making my texture,
Mm.
because it gives me a little detail that I can use.
Okay.
It's a little
Maybe.
bit of shadow information.
Okay.
So, does that answer your question?
Cause I'm trying to finish up my sword, but the thing is with my sword, I have to also put that you know how you put the rhinestones. I'm trying to figure out how to make them properly.
How to do what?
The rhinestones that you have on your sword,
Oh, okay.
and I'm trying to figure out how to do that before I finish everything else. I have the sword itself, the whole sword thing. I just can't figure out how to do the rhinestone.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, like I said, schedule a time with me and we can get all that stuff figured out, okay?
Hmm. Okay.
All right.
When is the sword due?
So, that midterm,
No, because I'm also doing a sword for.
oh, that's due tonight,
When is it due?
at 11:59 tonight.
Okay. I'm still working on it, and I know it's due tonight. I believe. Yeah.
Um, so something else, guys, if you are having troubles making deadlines, turn
Yeah.
something into me. Even if it's unfinished, even if it
Okay.
is not done, turn it
Oh,
into me, I can still work with that. If you don't turn anything into me, you're gonna get a zero because I can't work with nothing, right?
yeah,
I would be
true.
lying. So I need you to turn something into me, and
Yeah,
then we can work with getting it complete to a better grade. But if you don't turn anything into me, I don't have nothing. There's nothing that I can do. Does that make sense?
true.
So if you are having issues turning stuff in, just turn it into me, and we'll work on getting that graded to a better place. But you can't
Okay.
not turn anything in. I mean, you can. You just don't expect to get a grade. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
I understand.
Perfect. Okay. Um, so I want to soften these edges a bit because you
So
can.
should I just submit it and then let it?
I'm sorry.
I said, should I just submit it and
Well,
let you see it?
well, I mean, you can if you want to work on it until it's due tonight, you can continue to do that. But I mean, if you want to submit it now,
No,
that's fine.
no, I'm saying yeah, so I can have something submitted just in case I don't have anything there by the time. Because I don't want to be like, yeah, I'm still working on it, and then by the time it's 11 p.m., I have nothing submitted, and you have nothing there.
Yeah. Well, if you want to submit it now, you can.
Okay.
All right. Um, oh yeah. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just gonna soften these edges a bit because I don't want these hard edges showing up in my texture. So I'm just gonna erase these a little bit. So I just have my eraser set at 25 opacity and flow, and that's gonna give me a little bit more control over um, how hard I want those edges. Donis, mute your mic, man. We don't want to hear you eating your Cheetos.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
No, you're good. Um, so I'm just erasing around this edge a little bit to kind of get this to kind of match in a little bit. You kind of see that? So I'm just trying to get that to look um, like it's a part of that texture. So let's save. Let's see what we got. Export out. You're going to be doing this a lot. You're going to be doing a lot of ex-
Saving and
yeah,
exporting.
saving and looking at it just to make sure how your texture is the way you want it to look like um, on your
Okay.
model. So that's updating. Let's see what it looks like in here. There you go. You see that? You see we kind of got some edges, a little edge wear right here.
Yeah. It. Well, wait. I can't really tell the color, but yeah, I could see some wear.
Yeah, you can. It's right here. You can see a little discoloration.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then on the blade, you can see the
yeah,
roundness.
exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So we kind of got something.
Hmm.
Right. Okay. So we got some metal parts in there. Let's get some. Let's get a little bit of wood in here. Okay. Um. So what you can do, you can select all your brown. Here we go. I wonder if it's gonna let me render fibers. Um. So I'm going to make a new layer. I'm gonna give me like a lighter. I think it's gonna work. I don't know. I haven't textured in Photoshop in a minute. I'm gonna do like a lighter brown. I'm gonna fill it,
Mhm.
and then I'm gonna do
Oh yeah.
filter, render, fibers. Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes it does it.
Yeah. So, um,
Sometimes it doesn't do it.
so what fibers does? It gives you like this kind of grainy, like looks like hair or looks like fibers, right?
It
You
looks
can use this as a base to get um, like a wood look, right? You can randomize it a bit. You can change the variance or the strength of these fibers. If you want it to be a bit stronger, you can. Um,
and the stronger you go, the more it looks like wood.
yeah. So I'm going to hit OK. And then you can kind of see my fiber texture right here, right?
Wow, it looks good.
Yeah. So that's a start. If you look at how wood is, it has a lot of different,
It's like a darker tone in a way.
like, let's look at, so if you look at wood, right, and always look at references when you're doing your textures, but if you look at wood, it's not just straight fibers. You got some, different knobby pieces right here, a lot of wavy pieces as well. Um, so we can, if I believe we can do this, we can go to filter, um, distort, and is it wave? Yeah. So we can change our wave, like we can kind of make these a bit more wavy. Let's see what that's going to be like. Actually, I made a mistake. Undo that. We're going to do something different, sorry. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to I'm going to fill it with this color. Um, I'm going to do filter. We're going to make our render. We're going to make our fibers again. We're going to do that. Then we're going to go to filter, distort, and we're going to go to,
I will be right back
okay,
because someone's knocking at my door.
no, that's fine. We're going to do wave, and we're going to give this a little bit of waviness. So we're just going to do just a little bit. Turn the scale down a little bit. Number of generations. That's interesting. Okay. We're going to hit OK. So you see the difference. It kind of waved them out a little bit. Maybe I can give it a stronger wave than that. Yeah, let's give them a stronger wave. So let's go back and do filter, distort, wave. Let's give them a stronger wavelength. Give them a stronger strength. Turn the amplitude up a little bit. Maybe that's a little better. Oh, that's weird. I'm gonna hit OK. So it kind of gave me some right here. I'm going to copy this layer. So I'm going to click and drag to a layer right here. That copies it, or I can just do Control C, Control V. I'm going to hit Control T, and that's going to give me option to transform it. I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees. No, do I want to do that? Yeah, I'm going to rotate it 180. I'm going to hit apply. Does that change anything? Yeah, a little bit. I'm going to go to filter, other, offset, and I'm just going to offset this a little bit. And hit OK. I'm going to go to overlay, maybe. And what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to get some different wavy pieces in here. Let's see what this is going to give us. Control T, I'm going to move it like this. I'm going to select my wood. this back on, and I'm just going to delete everything else. So select inverse. I'm going to delete that stuff. All right, so I kind of got a base for wood. Let's see what that looks like. Remember, name your layers. So we're going to put wood. Let's do wood swirls. And so you're just going to keep building and building and building on top of your layers to get what you want. So it's going to take a while. File, export, PNG. Right here, save, yes. Okay. So we kind of got some wood going on in here. Let's multiply this.
Alright, I'm back.
Okay, George, you didn't miss much. We just kind of made a really janky looking wood texture.
I see. You're using the wave, right?
Yeah, I did fibers and then I did distort wave, and I kind of got this.
Alright. Dope.
So I kind of have something here. I don't know why my filter gallery does not want to work. Because that's a huge benefit. For some reason, it doesn't want to work. Well, anyway, let's take some wood textures. So let's do rough. So this looks kind of something like what we want, or maybe even this. So right now I'm just looking for a wood texture that I can use. There are texture websites that you can use. I think CG Textures is a good website that you can use. I think they're now textures.com. Yeah. So you can go to textures.com. They have a whole bunch of textures that you can use. I think they're free. It says pricing up there, but let me see. We'll just click on metal. No, click on wood. And we can do like rough wood. So some of these images are like 16K, so they're really high resolution. Yeah, so if I wanted a very low resolution texture, I can get it for free right here. But if you wanted a really, really high resolution texture, you can get it you had to pay some credits. But right here, if I just make an account, I can get this for free. But you can just steal them. Like, it's really, I mean, you're using them, but you're not really using them the way that, I'm not just going to slap this guy on and call it done. I'm going to mix and match them in here to kind of get a better look and feel. So I'm going to paste him in here. I'm going to rasterize him. And then we're just going to try to get a better color. So I don't really like how dark this brown is. I maybe want it like a darker or something more like this. So maybe I can change the color of this brown. So I'm just going to select all these again. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So if you go to image, adjustments, hue and saturation, or color balance.
I am back.
Perfect. If you go to hue and saturation, you can turn down the saturation a bit, like that,
Now,
and you
what
can
did you
change.
do?
So all I'm doing right now is I'm just changing the color of my wood.
Because where y'all left off was you did the fiber.
Yeah, and so all I did with the fibers, I just did wave.
You put
I just went to filter, distort,
okay
and then wave, and
wait
I just made like this little wavy texture you
wood.
see right there. And
Okay.
I imported in this little image that I took from the internet,
Hmm. Okay.
and I'm gonna just use this image. I'm gonna plop this around a little bit to get different
Different
texture.
textures.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Um, and so I have him in here.
Hmm.
He has a soft light on him. I'm gonna turn some of these off. Yeah, so I can grab
Wow.
him.
This looks cool.
So I'm just gonna copy him over a couple times.
Until you get it in the right places.
Yeah. Control T to transform. I just rotated him a little bit. I'm gonna bring him here like that,
You did
and,
a
and I'm gonna click on this layer, hold Shift, click that layer, and I'm gonna Control E. All
you
right.
did a control E.
Yeah, Control E is collapse those layers
Oh, okay.
like a merge. So
Hmm.
you see that there's visible seams right here, right?
Yeah.
And that's because this isn't a seamless texture. So I don't want those seams to show up.
So
And
what you gonna do
well, what do you
to
think I'm
fix?
gonna do, Solo?
I don't know. Maybe you gonna um, if I can think correctly, maybe you're gonna do over
Or
no
what?
over no think
Let me show you what I'm gonna do.
is it I'm trying to think. I know what you're gonna do. I just can't think. Is it okay? Now I know. You're gonna take you're gonna make it a different. Are you gonna change it from normal to something else?
No, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clone stamp it.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
have
I knew
anybody
that.
have any of you ever used clone stamp before?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so what clone stamp does is it you select a part of your image that you want to clone and paint on another part of your image. So if I want to use this over here, I hold Alt, and so I'm selecting my sample right
Yeah.
here. So I'm going to click right here, and then you see I can paint over here.
To get that
Yeah,
same.
to get that same thing. So I want to get rid of these seams. So I'm just going to clone brush some of this stuff in to get rid of these seams. This has a hard edge, and so whenever I clone stamp, is going to give me a really hard edge. I don't want that. I want a
Yeah.
softer edge, so it
You
kind of
can put a
fades.
soft edge.
So I'm just going to select right here, hold Alt, select, and then I'm just going to clone stamp some of this stuff in.
Hmm. To make it look like it's no seam.
Yep, pretty much.
Hmm.
Okay.
Doesn't look like a seam anymore.
Yep. But if I were to tile this, I mean, it's going to be like this like strip of wood right here in the center, but that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to overlay this, and I'm going
Mm.
to copy this over again, like right there, so I can get this part. I'm going to shift, select this layer, shift click this layer, control E, and I'm just going to overlay this again. Select my wood swirl layer, not my wood swirl layer, my base color layer, and I'm going to magic wand this wood right here, and then I'm just going to do, well actually no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take this guy and I want to copy him down a couple times too, to all my parts that have wood,
Mm.
like that.
so you
Shift,
don't have to do it
Control
again.
E. So here, all of my parts, right? Overlay. Go to my base color. I'm gonna go to my magic wand tool. Shift,
Mm.
click all of my wood parts. Like so.
Is that wood part right there too?
I think so. Right here. And then I'm going to select or inverse my selection because I don't want to delete what's inside and keep all the wood on the outside. I want to do the reverse. So I go to select inverse, and then I'm going to click on this layer, which is where all my wood texture is. I'm going to hit delete.
Is it gray or wait? What happened?
So let's see. Let's see what we got. We got our swirl layer right here. I'm going to turn this down some more actually. Yeah. All right. Now let's save this, export this out, and let's see what we got. Export PNG.
Mm.
Where are you? Don't have so much crap on your desktop like I do. I
Yeah.
clean this out every week.
You do?
Yeah, because I get all of your stuff, everybody's projects on my desktop, and then my work stuff, and then my personal stuff, and then it just all gets crowded.
Yeah.
Okay.
My desktop, what I did, I just put a folder and put everything in.
Okay. So look what we got so far. This isn't too bad. This isn't looking too
Or
bad.
either deleted the stuff I didn't need.
So do you see that, guys?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wooden, wooden, wooden
So
desktop.
just using a couple textures I found online, just some basic fills, is giving me something like this.
Wow.
So um, this is not too hard. You can get some pretty decent looking stuff. There are some issues with my UVs right here, so you can kind of see that it's white right there. Um, that's just because I'm doing this really fast, but you would have to go in and look.
And
Um,
just look at it and see what is the problem.
yeah, so a good way to do this, I'll show you something that's pretty cool. If you open up your UV editor, you're like, okay, well, where is it in my texture? I don't see it here. If you
Yeah.
if you click on pick texture, if you look up here where it says checker, you click that, you go to pick texture, you click bitmap, you hit OK, and you find your texture file.
The texture map that you just did. Correct.
Yeah, if you find it, where are you? Right here. Hit open. Now you can see your texture in here.
Ooh, okay.
So you're like, okay, well, why is it white right here? Like, why am I getting this white seam? You click over here and you look. You're like, oh crap, look, there's a white seam right here. So then you go back to your Photoshop document and you're like, I gotta paint this up. Like, why is
You
it white
gotta
right
fix
here?
that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's a pretty powerful tool. That'll help out
Hmm.
a lot.
Are you gonna re-upload this video, Ricky?
Yes, I will.
Is it gonna be on YouTube or is it gonna be on Canvas?
It's gonna be on YouTube, but I'm gonna send the YouTube link in Canvas.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Let me get this color right. Color pick that. Why aren't you letting me paint?
It may not be able to. You might have to do a selection.
That's why. Okay, because I had it set at 25%. That's why.
Uh, hmm.
Fill this in.
You're just holding shift, huh?
Yep. Holding shift, click. And that'll paint you straight lines. Super, super useful tool.
Mm.
So I want to get some variation in my wood color a little bit. So I'm going to do another rendered clouds. Um, First, I'm going to select.
What is a render cloud?
So that's kind of how we did our metal. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm going to make a new layer. So I'm going to click new layer.
Oh,
Uh,
like the entrance clouds thing.
yeah.
Oh.
So if you
Mm.
look, I'm going to pick two colors right here. Two colors that I want um, to make my clouds. So I got these two different browns. I'm going to go in my new layer. I'm going to go to filter, render, and then clouds. It didn't give me those colors.
No, it's the different clouds. It's not that one.
Is it difference clouds?
Yeah. If you want the different,
Uh,
I did it before.
Render difference clouds.
God, I should be able to do it
No, it didn't do it.
because I done it before.
Um, Let me try this then.
Hmm.
Filter, render.
Just- mm,
No,
See? Yeah.
no, that's not that's blue. We don't want blue.
Mm,
It usually, whenever you do a render clouds, you can do clouds and it shouldn't be black and white. It should be two different colors. The
yeah.
two colors that I have selected here, but it's not doing that. Why is it doing that? Filter, render. Huh.
Mm.
Well, it's whatever then. It wants to be that way. It wants to be that way. So we can just do. I thought that's how it worked before, but what do I know? Um, you can do a soft light.
And there's the colors you needed, but it didn't come in.
Yeah, no. You can do a soft light like that, and then you can just kind of turn them down. It kind of gives you a little variation. You could even do filter, blur, Gaussian blur.
Mm.
Um, like that, and I'm
Yeah.
just blurring. I'm just blurring my clouds. See if I turn them all the way down, there's no blur. But if I turn them up,
All the way up.
then you can kind of get like a little variation. You see that? I'm just I just want small variations.
Mm.
Um, so turn that on. I made another layer. I'm just gonna paint some of this light brown right here in here.
Mm.
I'm gonna do a softer brush. I'm gonna turn my opacity down to 25%, another 25%, and I'm just gonna paint just to give some areas some different colors.
Like the wood is finished on certain parts.
Yeah, finish on certain parts. Wood isn't the same color all the way through. There's different
Different variation.
yeah, variations of brown in wood. And so I'm just trying to give that effect, like it's painted in different parts. Um, I'm gonna do soft light. I'm gonna turn that down, or maybe I can just do a Gaussian blur on that too. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Yeah.
Okay.
See, so it's a little different, a little variation there.
Mm.
File, export, PNG. Again, guys, this is a very, very not super detailed texture, right? This is just pretty bare bones stuff. So you see that? So I think this is probably a good stopping point. I think this is decent enough. I think you guys kind of get the gist. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of
Okay.
get what you're talking
So,
about.
um, I mean, all I did, and I only have like a few layers here, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
I just brought in some different images. Um, I played with a lot of different filter settings here. Same thing in GIMP, Vincent. And I just did some fills and mess with some filters up here to get just some of these different effects. Um, and honestly, most of my work is really coming from my AO map right here, and just these image files that I brought in is really doing most of the work. Um, because
Do
everything
you,
else, what?
if you use your UV, if it's like the same thing with your UV map, can you do the same thing with your UV map?
What do you mean?
Per
Can
se?
you repeat that question?
Can you do the same thing you just did? All the methods you just did with just your UV map?
Yeah. So you mean if you just imported it um, with just this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can do all of that same stuff.
Okay.
The difference being, I gotta move this over. Um, the difference being is that you are gonna have to go in and select things manually, right?
Mm.
So you're gonna have to
Okay.
go in and do George's favorite tool, the lasso tool, and you're gonna have to go. You're gonna have to go in and he's like, okay, I know this is metal, so let me select this. I'm gonna fill it with gray. Okay, now what's this piece? Now let me go back to my UVs. Oh, that piece is metal. Okay, let me go back in. So you can do that. Um, in Max, there's a way that you can render out like a color map,
Mm.
and I'm trying to
Okay.
remember how you do that. Let me see if I can do it real quick, and then we can call the video done. Is there more that you guys want to see, or are you guys happy with this?
What do we have any assignments for next week?
I
I missed the
haven't.
first in the class.
So I haven't posted any assignments yet. I wanted to discuss with you guys the nature of the class to see whether or not um, what I was giving you was too difficult. That's kind of what we talked about towards the beginning of class. Um,
Oh,
so I haven't posted a project for next week, but I can, having spoken with all of you and kind of gotten your feedback that what we're doing right now is okay. It's not difficult. Um, so to answer your question, yes, there'll be a assignment next week. I'll send it out tonight so that you guys can get started on it. Is that
all
is
right.
that is that is that good?
Yeah, that's good enough. I was just seeing if there was gonna be an assignment next week.
Yeah,
And last week's project is due tonight, right?
that's correct.
All right.
Again, if you are not close to finish, turn something into me. Okay,
All right.
anything. It doesn't matter. I can work with that, but just do not turn anything in. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can do this real quick. Zero, render to texture, objects to bake. Can I pick itself? I don't know. I'll figure it out. I'll send you guys a video on it. But to answer your question, Solo, you could bring in your UVs here, and then you would bring in another map, which will be
Okay.
your mask map, and
Mm-hmm.
that'll help you not have to select
Oh.
all like everything separately like that. You would have something
Yeah.
that would look like this, right?
Oh, okay.
And so you can just go in and you can just select. You can just
Mm.
select my blues, select my reds. Um, so I'll try to figure that out, and I'll try to get that to you um, tomorrow.
And then when you give that to me, I should be able to start on the Buzzsaw.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Because that, and it'll be easier, and then I can.
yeah,
Do I have to make the Buzzsaw? Because I didn't see, it's the file up there,
yeah.
right?
The file should be in Discord.
It's in Discord, right? Okay.
Yes. If you scroll up in the chat, you'll see it right
Mm-hmm.
here.
Okay. So it's already made,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. Buzzsaw's already made.
Okay.
If you follow this video that I have in the chat as well, unwrapping Buzzsaw table. If you follow that video, it'll be unwrapped and ready, and it'll be
Okay.
exactly where I started today.
Okay.
Okay.
Will do.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? No. Is this is this up to your liking?
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
That's fine.
This is much better. Wait. He said, "How did you color your model 3ds Max?"
Okay. So that's what I'm gonna have to get back to you on, Vincent. I did that in Substance. I used Vertex colors and I colored it. So if I group this together and I go to Vertex colors, Vertex paint. If I look at my Vertex paint, um, it's blue and it's supposed to be blue and red,
But it's not popping.
but it's red right now. But anyway,
Why is it? Okay. It's weird. Uh-huh.
yeah, there it is.
Oh, there. Oh.
Where there it is. Yeah. So I just to get a mask in Substance, you paint your vertex colors in Max, and then you export out your model with your vertex colors, and then you just bake out that those vertex colors.
Mm.
That's how I got it. But in Max, there's a way to do it. I just got to remember how to do it, and I'll make sure that I'll get that to you tomorrow so that you can use that to mask out your textures in Photoshop.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay. Perfect. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna call the stream done. If you have any questions, when you're working on it and you're like, "How did he do that?" or "I don't know how to do that," then just send me a message and let me know, and I'll help you. But you should just be able to follow this video and should be able to follow along and get it. If you have never used Photoshop before and this is like your first time getting into Photoshop, get with me, um, and I'll help you kind of understand the very basics of Photoshop. Okay?
Okay.
Oh, wait, sorry, quick question. So I can turn in my sword. You're gonna have to critique anything? That's for next week?
Yeah, we can do that next week. Don't worry about that.
Okay,
We'll
cool.
critique the next model next week. So I'll send out an assignment tonight so that you guys can get started on it tomorrow.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right, sound good?
So for the critique tonight, we're not submitting a critique tonight.
That's correct. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Because we're gonna do the critiques in class from now on. And if you're not in the Discord chat, then you're gonna have to find somebody and do a critique.
Okay.
Okay. So if you don't want to find somebody, just be in the Discord chat.
Okay.
Sound fair?
Sounds fair. Mm.
Okay. Perfect. All right. All right. Well, guys, that's it. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll get with you.
All right. Take care, Ricky.
All right.